Hello, welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and we are coming into the holiday season. It's in full swing, and if you're a soap maker, you have to think weeks ahead of time making soap because it's got to have some cure time to it. So with that in mind, I am a little late to the game here, but I am making a pumpkin cheesecake soap today. This is from Be Scented, which she closed this shop, Jen from A&N Suds and Such. She is a fantastic soaper. Check out her YouTube channel if you haven't. She's got a lot to offer over there. She has a new company called Mountain Peak Fragrance, and so she has tons of fragrances over there. Go check it out. But this is old. I'm saying it's discontinued because I don't know if she has this exact one in her new shop, but that's what I'm using today. And it has a 4.5% vanillin, and I have on here my side note, none, meaning it doesn't cause acceleration or separation, but dark brown. It's going to discolor to a dark brown. So the way that I tackled that, a lot of these holiday scents that are just warm and have vanilla notes or chocolate notes, those really yummy foodie type scents, have a lot of vanillin and they will discolor. You'll just end up with a chocolate brown bar. Well, that's cool. It kind of looks like a piece of fudge, but if you want to get any color swirls or definition in there, the way I tackle it is I only fragrance a portion of the batter, and then the batter that I want to color, which I'll use a little titanium dioxide in a portion, and I will use this sunset orange in a portion, and I won't fragrance it. So those two colors won't be affected by the fragrance discoloration, and then the body of the soap will discolor. So that's how I'm going to tackle it today. I'm going to be using heavy cream powder as one of the additives today because it's foodie and it sounds, scrumptious. With this scent is very yummy, and I thought cream powder sounded perfect. So that is the plan. I will have the recipe written in the description box down below, and let me go get everything prepped and ready to go. And let's come back and make some pumpkin cheesecake soap. And we are back with a brand new recipe today, but before we get into that, I wanted to show you, I was in my drawer poking around, measuring things out, and I found this little tool. I've used it before. This you can find in a cake decorating area. It's for cake frosting, and it happens to fit perfectly in my little Amazon mold here. So depending on how this soap is behaving, if I can get a nice thick trace on the fragranced portion that's going to discolor to brown, I was thinking about pouring a layer in the bottom and doing my little tool on it to give it some texture, and then doing it in the pot swirl on top. But I'm going to wait and see kind of for the flavor, if you will, the soap. Let's see how it's behaving. But I have my little tool out in case I want to do that. I love having options ready to go. So let's talk about the recipe today. This is a brand new recipe. I just went up and formulated it and was happy with the lather and the creaminess and the cleansing and all the details of this recipe. So here it is. All right. Let's get into it. The first ingredient, and what I like to do with my soap, is measure my hard oils and butters, give them a little pre-melt, and then add my liquid. So what we have here is coconut oil. I have 10.8 ounces or 306 grams of coconut oil. All right, and our next oil is tallow. This is beef tallow. On Soap Calc, I think they have like sheep tallow and bear tallow. They have some pretty interesting oils on there. This is beef tallow. And I have 5.4 ounces or 153 grams of beef tallow. All right, and my last is a butter. This is shea butter. I have 1.8 ounces or 51 grams of shea butter. And this is unrefined shea butter. You could use refined, deodorized. It's all fine. I think Soap Calc, whether it's refined or unrefined, measures the same. So shea butter going in. And now I'm going to go give these just a little pre-melt, and then we'll be right back for the liquid portion. And now we're ready for the liquid oil portion. I have here 1.8 ounces or 51 grams of castor oil. And the next oil is olive oil, 7.2 ounces or 204 grams of olive oil. And the last oil in this recipe is high oleic sunflower oil. I have 9 ounces or 255 grams. All right, and now that's it for the recipe. It's time for our additives. And here is my heavy cream powder. It's about 1 tablespoon or about half an ounce. If you put a little more than a tablespoon in here, it's just fine, or a little less. So these are not very specific, but you know, in the ballpark. So about a tablespoon of heavy cream powder is going in here. A tablespoon of colloidal oats is going in here. And again, I'm just eyeballing this. This is a 2 tablespoon scoop, so I don't know, a little more than half full. We're being generous today. And same with my kaolin clay, about a tablespoon, or maybe a little extra. Now let me get this all blended up and ready to go, and we'll be back when it's time to make soap. Are back with our lye solution and our oils, and I get asked often, what temperatures do I soap at? I like to soap between 80 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit for me here in the US. So let's go ahead and take the temperatures here and show you what we've got. Okay, 93 on the oils, and that's warm because I zapped them in the microwave to melt those hard oils. And let's see on the lye here. 85.9, and I'm totally fine. They don't have to be the exact same temperature. For me, they are in the range between 80 and 100, and I'm totally happy with that. All right, now before we get into mixing and seeing how this behaves and everything, I want to talk about the fragrance. Here it is, my fragrance, and I'm fragrancing at 5%, but I'm not going to fragrance the entire batch, again, for the discoloration. So I had to factor. One of the things I love about these polypropylene pitchers is they have the measurements on the side. So once I get my line here, I can look and go, okay, that's my measurement. And then this one is a little smaller and it has the measurements on the side again. And so I'm going to pour half of this in here for my fragranced portion. And this is half of a fragrance load for this batch of soap. When you're splitting and not fragrancing some, you want to only, use the amount for the part you're fragrancing. I hope that makes sense. You don't want to over fragrance that portion. So there's that. And let's get everything ready to go here. I do have my titanium dioxide off to the side. I might add a little bit to the unfragranced, uncolored portion just for a little pop so it stands out. And let's get to this and see how this soap behaves. right, it is the next day, and that is not a beautiful top. And I am not very hopeful for what we're going to see on the inside because I made a fateful mistake, and we'll talk about it as we're cutting. But it smells good. I can pick up a little bit of scent. It smells soapy, and you can see some of the brown clumps coming through here. Anyway, let's get this out of the mold and see what we're dealing with, and then we'll talk about what happened. We are back with the lovely Olga, and let's talk about what I believe went on pouring the soap, which is I mixed the dark portion to get it up to a thick trace so I could run that little frosting comb through. And so when it came time to do my in the pot swirl, this portion was very thick and the orange and white portion was very thin. And so it did not swirl in the pot at all. It was basically, yeah, not what I was hoping for when I got there, and I just wasn't thinking on my feet. So let me talk about, there we go, what I could have done differently. Okay, oh, this is great. You're going to be able to see the discoloration here. So look at that dark brown color and look at the inside color. So this is what it's going to discolor to. But look, the little frosting comb left a cute pattern on here, but those big blobs. So what could I have done to prevent this? I think it's kind of cute and it smells good. I do have to say, even just having this portion fragranced, these smell wonderful. So what could I have done? Well, the first thing I could have done is just poured all of the fragrance portion down and done my frosting comb and just not done it in the pot swirl with those chunks in there. I could have done that. Would have been an option. And I do have a little bit of swirl definition, but it muddied up pretty well. The other thing I could have done was pull out my stick blender and mix the light colors, the unscented ones, to a thicker consistency. I could have done that, and then they would have held up to each other when I tried to mush them around. That is another option. And then, of course, the third option, which is what I took. I kind of panicked, and I poured everything in the pouring bucket, and so my colors got muddied up, and I have chunks in there. And, you know, that's what we've got today. But at the end of the day, I think this is a beautiful recipe. It smells amazing. And when this discolors, it's going to be even more defined looking for that little kind of crust on the bottom. So even though I don't think this soap is going to win any beauty awards, but I think it's cute. It's usable soap. It smells good. My family and friends will be happy to receive a bar of this. And I just love the discoloration. To me, that is just fascinating. So as this sits and oxidizes, it's going to discolor pretty quickly. And so I will hold off on my photography of the finished bars for the end of the video that I always throw some pictures on the end. I will wait until this has settled in its, you know, completed color scheme, and we'll get some pictures at that point in time. And these are pretty firm. I'm going to go ahead and bevel and stamp these today. And then I'll let them sit for a day or two before I take their final photographs. And hopefully we'll have all the discoloration at that time. So yeah, we're not winning any beauty awards, but it's still a great bar of soap. And with the cream powder in there and the tallow and the shea butter, yeah, it's a good recipe. So I hope you give the recipe a try. Don't let my not so lovely in the pot swirl throw you off from a good soap recipe. So I hope you give it a try, and I hope you have a wonderful day.